Hey everybody, welcome back to the keyword selection and match types training series. In our last video, we discussed exact match keyword selection. In this video, we're going to be talking about phrase match. Phrase match is an excellent bidding strategy for a user who, or an advertiser who is simply trying to drive traffic to the site without blowing through a budget. But it will not serve you if you're trying to drive large amounts of traffic to your site. It's very targeted still, similar to exact match. We're going to go over the differences here, which is really only one differentiator between an exact match and a phrase match search keyword. So let's go over those now. Just like an exact match keyword, in a phrase match, it must be the exact words you're bidding on. So if you're bidding on men's boots, that must remain intact in the user's search query. So they must have in their search query men's boots. And it must be in that order still in a phrase match. So if the user searches for men's working boots, your ad will not trigger still. So number two is that just like in an exact match, it will only trigger on close variants. So if your key phrase is men's boots, then man's boots would trigger an ad, but guy's boots would not trigger an ad. The third element here for a phrase match, and this is what differentiates a phrase match from an exact match, is that a phrase match may have words before and or after it in the user's search query. So if the user searches for men's boots for sale, your ad would trigger. If the user searches for I want to buy men's boots, then your ad would also trigger. So that's the differentiator, prime differentiator between a phrase match and an exact match, is a user can tack on words before or after the phrase you're targeting, and your ad will trigger. Whereas in an exact match, it cannot have any additional words before or after it for your ad to trigger. I'm going to take you back to Google's site here so you can get a visual of a couple of examples that they deliver specifically. So running with the women's hats example, similar to the same thing they used in the exact match example. So if the phrase match keyword is women's hats, your ads may be shown on searches for women's hats, buy women's hats, woman's hats, and women's hats with a capital W. Your ads will not be shown for girls' hats or women's baseball hats. So if you see here, baseball in the user's search query was interjected in between women's and hats, which broke the phrase up. As a result, the ad here would not be triggered in a phrase match type. So what I want to do now is go over with you how Google requests that you dictate a phrase matched keyword to them so that they know that you want this keyword to be triggered as a phrase match only. And in an exact match, they had you put brackets, and in a phrase match, you're going to put the key phrase in parentheses, or quotation marks, excuse me. So it would be men's boots with quotation marks around the phrase. So let's go into our Google AdWords account here, and I'll show you exactly what this looks like in a setup. So let's add a new ad group, and we're going to call this one men's boots as well. Same ad copy. This is just to get down to here. And here, I would add the keyword in quotation marks. Men's boots. And this will tell Google that I want this keyword to follow the rules of a phrase match keyword. And I would simply add it. And we're going to give this a default bid of the same as the other, $1.50. We'll just save the ad group. So this one, as you see in your dashboard, will show you the key phrase in quotation marks so that you know and Google knows this is a phrase match selection. So that's it. That's the key definition of a phrase match keyword selection. That I showed you a few examples, and I showed you how to dictate and then an example of actually setting it up in Google AdWords. In our next video, we're going to be talking about broad match. We'll see you there.